another episode of With the Chiefs.
Wait. Man, I need more rest.
I hope I've got your last name right there.
It's a very good pronunciation.
You should know better than that now, Donald.
I know.
5, 4. Have we done a countdown before? All right. Welcome back to another episode of With the Chiefs. Today we are very lucky to be joined by Matt Ho. Matt is a very talented member of Delta Running Project with personal best of 14:57 in the 5K, 31:35 in the 10, 109 in the half, and 2:28 flat in the full. In this episode, we're going to chat about his recent first place finish at Canberra Marathon, where he ran 2:32:13. Matt, welcome to the show and thanks for joining.
Oh, thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind introduction.
That 5K, where was that 5K, by the way?
So the 5K, I've done a 14:53. That was a COVID time trial on track.
53. I think I've got it wrong.
That's all right. Well, it's not. It's not official anyway. So my official PB is actually 15:12.
Yeah, that's what I found.
At Troller.
Okay.
At one of the New South Wales track meets.
Yeah. Okay. Damn.
But yeah. No, I can't really claim the time trial.
It's
a legit distance,
on the track. Yeah,
I don't know what the etiquette there is. So
No, I think
in my head, I think I'm a sub 15 runner, but not on paper.
I'd take that.
As long as it's official in terms of like the actual measurement.
Good old run crew time trial. So no, they were very good to invite me over because there was just this 15-minute train and I just hopped on and kicked down.
Did Sam Shield run?
Sam wasn't in that one. Sam Hopper was in that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Sam Hopper, Jack Green, I remember going toe with.
They all went sub 15 or?
Hops didn't, but Jack Green did 14:52. I remember that because we were just neck and neck the whole way. Yeah, and he kicked me as he always does. So, yeah.
Alrighty, well, we'll start as we normally do with a training update. So, what have you, obviously probably not much running, but what have you been up to last week?
And the last week, so, a week ago today was the Canberra Marathon. And then, I'll just refresh myself, but essentially I haven't run much. Monday, Tuesday, we were actually staying in an apartment in Canberra, and we stayed 4 extra nights just to make it a family holiday.
Nice.
And the apartment had a gym with an elliptical.
Okay.
So Monday I did 30 minutes elliptical.
Yeah.
And then I just did some strength and resistance band.
How did you feel
stretching
on the strength?
I felt it's really light strength, so it's a few planks. It was actually mainly stretching and putting the roller in the sore quads.
Yep.
So I did that for about half an hour. And then Tuesday, again, my wife and I, that's our time together. So I did 40 minutes on the elliptical on Tuesday and then a bit of gym while she did the elliptical.
Mm-hmm.
And Wednesday, I'll just get it up here. Pretty sure I did 40 minutes elliptical again and then 20 elliptical in the evening. The general advice given to me was, if you can, try keep moving, but don't injure yourself.
Yeah.
So I figured the elliptical felt fine. It's just when I go downstairs to get to the elliptical, that's
downstairs are the real
So pretty much elliptical every day from Monday through to Wednesday.
Yep.
And then I also hit the gym every day. Then and again it was just stretching, bit of balance work. No impact, so no plyos or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's go here. So, sorry. And then we left on Thursday morning for Jindabyne.
Yep.
So I brought my daughter for my first run on Thursday. So we did 6Ks at here we go, daddy date. 6 at 6:07s.
Nice.
And we just went around the Jindabyne Lake and legs felt. The legs felt fine.
Yep.
Just especially going down the hills, I could just still feel the quads a bit.
Yep.
But it felt good. Yeah, it was
pretty nice running around there.
Oh, it's really nice. Have you been? Yeah. So this is probably my 4th time in Jindabyne now with the family. So it's becoming a bit of a regular sort of getaway. So I know that lake area well, and it's nice and flat and very scenic, and the weather's just perfect.
Yeah.
Crisp air, and it was like 15 degrees, really sunny. And then Friday morning, I went on a run date with my wife. We did 10Ks along the trails of Jindabyne to the northeast.
Yeah.
We went at 6:20s along the trails, and had a good time. Then had a coffee afterwards before getting back for the kids. And then here we go. That evening. Oh, this is funny. I actually brought the kids. So my two eldest, Lucas is 11, Grace is 9. I brought them to the Jindabyne track because I've been saying to the kids, they do park run with me.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been saying I should teach you interval sessions and stuff. So this is definitely not something I usually do. But we jogged down to the track, which was about 2Ks, and then I did 5 by 200 with them with a minute's rest, and then 2 by 400 with them at their pace. I can read my daughter's splits. Yeah. It's like 50-second 200s.
Yeah.
My son was about 45 seconds.
Nice.
Yeah. And she covered the 400s in, I think it was close to 2 minutes. Yeah, about 5-minute Ks for her 400 reps. So I'm pretty proud of Gracie. Yeah. So, it's a cool kind of track. It's part of the Institute of Sport there.
Oh, yeah.
And it was completely empty. And there were honestly, literally like 50 kangaroos in the middle of the track. Some were like fighting each other, and my younger kids were sort of watching and spectating and having a good old chuckle. So it was really memorable. It was really good. So I covered 7Ks of sort of various degrees of jogging, and fastest pace was 5-minute pace there. But after that, interestingly, talk about it later, but my pelvis started just to feel a little bit funny, and it's the first feeling I've had in that since my major injury, which put me out for almost 2 years. So I was like, oh, that feels a bit yuck. So then I didn't cool down with them or anything.
You're right.
And then I just did a bit more stretching when I got home. Nevertheless, not to be deterred, the next morning, my wife and I again went the other way around the lake and did a 12K sort of jog around something called the Hat Tree Trail. And then we grabbed a coffee after that. So really, so that was Friday. And then Saturday, which was yesterday, I brought my daughter and my son again on the local park run. And so Gracie did a PB. I'll give her a shout out. So she did 27 minutes, 47.
Nice.
Wow.
And Lucas also went out ahead on his own, and I think he came 12th or something, and he did 24:04, which was about a 40-second PB. So the kids they're at a stage where they won't get me out of bed saying I really want to do park run. Yeah. But when I suggest it, they're very open to it, and they're seeing the improvement. So I think it's I'm never one to impose my own interests on the kids, but I definitely will join them and facilitate them as a way of spending time with them too, if they're interested. So they were very G'd up to both get PBs. And then so far I've had a rest day today because we've been in the car for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So basically, so this week, just 40Ks of jogging and about 2 hours on the elliptical.
Okay. Yeah, nice. How was your energy, general energy levels throughout the week?
It's been fine. Like, my legs were banged up from the marathon, but it was the strangest feeling. And it was quite different from Melbourne 5 years ago, where I didn't feel I was out of breath or physiologically tired in terms of my cardiorespiratory system afterwards, and I've felt totally fine that way.
Okay.
It was a leg beat up feeling. So I guess that's good and bad in terms of what that means for how my body adapted to the training and where I could improve. But energy levels have been fine, and if my legs, and if I wasn't so cautious with this previous injury, I'd feel ready to get back into it. But I'll take it easy, I think, for another half week to a week still.
Okay. No, that's good.
All
things, and
I think it helps having a holiday after marathon too, and not going back to work on Monday morning.
Yeah,
definitely. As well.
Yeah.
So
good stuff.
Do you usually do like a lot of elliptical and gym or?
Never.
Yeah, right.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I never do the elliptical. That was
Yeah.
purely fortuitous that the apartment we Airbnb'd had it. Gym, look, we do have a mini gym. I put a mini gym set up at home, and we did that when we moved into our place about 2 years ago, and that was in the midst of my injury that put me off running. So the physio and the sports doc was putting me on a lot of exercises. So I thought rather than paying for a gym membership if we've moved into a new place, there was a sort of a basement room that wasn't doing anything. So we just got the builder and put a bit of money into making it a home gym sounds generous, but it's got 2 indoor bikes. It's got it's got a bench station and an adjustable adjustable dumbbells that go up to 24 kilos, and I've got a few kettlebells as well, and some yoga mats. So
That sounds like a good setup.
No, it's a cool setup. My wife uses it every morning now as well, so that's been really good for her to get back into sort of fitness, because when the kids were young, and they're still quite young, obviously we can't both leave them at home. So she put a TV there, and that's where she does her Netflix kind of thing. And so we sort of wake up together at 5 a.m, and really romantic, and she'll do honestly, but she'll do her indoor bike, and then I'll do my strength and conditioning, and it's really actually helped me. I never used to do any strength and conditioning, but since the injury, I surprise myself sometimes. I've just looked back and logged it. I'm doing a good 2 to 3 hours a week
of strength
and conditioning.
Which is really good.
Yeah. It's not putting on a heap of like muscle or anything, but it's a lot of planks, band work, balance work. So just trying to keep the body together.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get into a bit more sort of efficiency related stuff, which I haven't really done before, like plyos and so that's something I'd look to do there as well.
Right. And sounds like you spend like a lot of that quality time with your wife as well, which is cool.
Like we went through a period probably from about 2000 and sounding very old now, 2014 through last year, where we always had a kid who was a toddler or needing nappy changes, or we were waking up every 3 hours. And this is the first year our youngest children have just hit kindergarten. So this is really the first year they're all sleeping through, they're all reasonably self-sufficient, where we can sort of take up that hobby together, do it consistently in the morning. So it's been really good for us and our relationship, and good for both our sort of our mental health. And in terms of specific to my running, it's helped me rehab. It's just given me that time in the morning where I can also spend time with her, and it's not just I naturally don't. I don't know about you guys. I know every runner is meant to do some kind of strength and conditioning. It's not something I jump for joy for.
Same.
I don't really like it. But this is the best environment that I can maintain it.
So you didn't do any before the injury, like at all?
I didn't do anything.
So you were kind of forced into it.
I was forced into it. So when you I don't know if you guys have had any major injuries where you've had to stop running for a long time, but I'd never really had any injuries before this one. And when I was put out it was very on and off, but I was off. My longest break was for nearly 12 months.
Wow.
You realize how much you miss running just as a lifestyle and just as a gift to be enjoyed rather than chasing PBs. So I said at that time, and I maintain it now when I was injured, I don't care if I never run quickly again. I really don't care if I never run a PB. I would just love to be able to run and enjoy it. And thankfully I am now, and I'll maintain that. Like if it's a choice between me never running quicker again versus me holding my body together, I'd rather the body stay.
Yeah, of course.
Stay intact.
So how did that one? Did you know it was going to be 12 months straight away? So it got progressively.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit detailed. I'll try and condense it. So at the start of 2021, I was training quite hard, and I was quite goal orientated in terms of performance, and I just wasn't getting better. So I one of the things I tried to work on was the speed, and so my interval sessions became shorter. I was training with Tom Decano at the time, so that'll also help the speed, and amongst others. And I started getting this niggly sort of hip pain.
Yep.
And I'd got lots of niggles before, but I'd never really been injured. I'd take a day off or take it easy, and I just kept running through it. And this was also the time when family life was quite stressful. We had so we had like 1 or 2 year old triplets in addition to 3 older kids. We were in lockdown, and my work, so I work in the medical field, so that was very stressful. So it was a combination of a niggling injury, in retrospect, quite a stressful time in my life. I wasn't getting much sleep at all, and running was my release, and so generally, look, there are worse addictions to have, but I think in that case it was a bad addiction, and I ran through it. And I saw multiple physios, couldn't get over the pain. Finally saw a sports doctor and got an MRI. This is over the course of 8 months or so, and I kept stopping. 8 months later, got an MRI, and it showed I'd completely torn my adductor longus tendon, and the tendon, because of the mechanics, the abnormal mechanics, it had pulled on my pubic bone, and I had a pubic stress fracture. And it wasn't even that pain. I remember I did a run on the morning of the MRI. It wasn't that sore, so it's really really weird and a bit disconcerting. So now when I get this pelvic pain, you're like, ooh, yeah. So I didn't run a step for 6 months after that.
Okay.
And they say stress fractures take 6 to 8 weeks. It took me 12, 24 weeks. And even when I started the walk jog, the pain was still there. So I'm just getting this right, from March 2022 to essentially January 2023, I didn't run a step, and it was walk jogging from January to May of last year, and then finally got to run I wasn't really running pain-free until August last year.
Jeez.
Yeah, which is a scary thought. Yeah.
That's a long...
Yeah, so that's
a long period of time.
Yeah, I had about 3 years of on and off hip pain, and I would give up any PB just to run pain-free, and thankfully I'm pain-free now. Yeah.
It sounds like...
Till 2 days ago.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Is that like a common sort of injury to have like an adductor tear or even the stress fracture?
I think definitely groin strains are common amongst runners, and I think a strain becomes something more serious when you've torn one of your tendons, and there are partial tears, there are full tears. And then I think the natural progression is when a tear alters the mechanics such that it pulls on your pubic bone. I think that's probably one of the worst stages. So I think there's a spectrum all the way from strain through to tear through to stress fracture. And unfortunately, I just went on the wrong side of that spectrum.
Geez.
What were you doing exercise? Could you do anything?
So I went a bit. So it was really for my mental health. I got an indoor bike and went on Zwift, and I also mainly through work actually, and then through mates of mates, got into road cycling, and I was riding about 200 to 300 k's a week. A lot of it was commuting to work. Which my wife wasn't particularly happy about. Just with the safety element,
of course.
But so commuting, indoor biking with her, so we sort of have these bikes set up next to each other in a little mini gym, and then usually an 80 to 100k long ride on a Sunday morning with my mates.
Okay.
Which was it was good. I like cycling, but it's so much more complicated, time consuming and expensive than running. So I just love the purity of running, and I'm happy to be back running.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, that was one of the listener questions. So Tobias actually asked how you stayed motivated like doing cross training, because a lot of the time, like I'm not motivated to do cross training, but if you got 12 months, you've got to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were positive factors and then avoiding negative factors that contribute to my motivation. So positive wise, we moved, as I said, I had optimized the environment where I could do strength training. It was at home. I didn't have to drive to a gym. It was with my wife. There was a TV there. You know, we could YouTube, Netflix.
Yeah.
The other positive factors were, you know, I trust my medical professionals, and I had a really good sports doctor and a physio. So if you inherently trust the people you consult and they tell you, you've got this injury because of a weakness, and what I was told, he was told my antagonist muscles, so the glutes and the hammies and the ITB were quite weak.
Yeah.
So that's the assessment, and I knew if I had to avoid this coming back again, that's what I had to do. I had to put in the hard work.
Yep.
The one that sort of I'm now, so I was 38 at the time, and I've just seen a lot of my friends, both in running, outside running at my age. You really start to decondition at my age, and you guys are young, but if you don't actively work on it.
Yes.
And as I said, I'm in the medical field, and I know sort of muscle mass tends to go down.
Yes.
Even when you're in your early 30s. So I didn't want to become a deconditioned 40-year-old.
Yes.
And I also think so it was just a general wanting to maintain health and being afraid of deconditioning and aging quite quickly. Yeah. And then finally, I think when you're bringing up children, and this has been a game changer in all ways in my life, you want to be a good example to them as well. And so if I teach my children, I think you need to make healthy choices, kids. I've got to live that out, don't I? Yeah. I think that they would be the main factors.
That's good motivation.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
I can't say a positive factor was that I enjoy doing squats. I really don't. But yeah.
But cycling at least was a bit more.
Cycling was more engaging. Having friends really helped to do it once a week with, and even sometimes we met up on Zwift.
Yep.
So definitely adding that social component, but it's still not the same cycling on an indoor bike as it is, coming to Delta on Tuesdays, which is something, that's the one thing I missed most. And it's really, really good to be back on Tuesdays and running with my friends.
Yeah. It's good. It's obviously good to have you.
Well, I think I was really regular at Delta from the start. I think I was one of the first members before you guys joined.
Yep.
And then I think you guys sort of joined Delta when I was injured. So I know really I didn't run with you much, Luke. And Dom, I think I only caught up with you once or twice beforehand. I think that time between 2021-23 I was completely missing, and during that time the Delta group went from I think 20-30 people to looks like over 100 now. So
there's quite a few.
So it's definitely changed, but it's still got that same awesome vibe and community and a very giving atmosphere.
For sure. Alrighty, Dom, what's been happening with you?
The last week has been pretty solid, like around 116 Ks. Started off Monday was 16 Ks at like 4:30s, just my standard kind of like easy day loop is a lap of the bay. So I ran from my house, then it's about 10 Ks to get to the bay, and then do a lap of the bay and go home. Then Tuesday was I got out in the morning and ran around just one of the local ovals for half an hour, and then in the Arvo we had Turbo, which was it was a strange day. Tuesday, it was the day when the morning was like fine, beautiful, like sunrise and everything, and then by that afternoon it was like it's autumn, like freezing cold, raining, windy. We rocked up to Turbo, and there was like, I don't know, there was 3 people there at the start, And then we started the session. And then by the end of it, there was 6 people. And we're like, okay, well, that's all right. Like, still good group.
All the more you need,
Yeah.
you need the people and the conditions are like that, because they're the ones I pull the pin on pretty quick if it's cold and freezing and raining and I'm doing it on my own.
I know, and I was really dreading, it was Mona fartlek, which is like half-hour session, 3 minutes hard, 1 minute hard.
Yep.
And yeah, I was really dreading that because like to do like a half-hour tempo on your own, it's like, oh, this is grim. But,
do you have anyone around you, around your pace?
Not so much, but we did it around an oval, and like everyone's still, you feel the energy. And yeah, by the end of the session, I was like, oh, that was really fun. Like I actually enjoyed that a lot more than I was expecting. Then took Wednesday off. We got last minute tickets to see West Side Story.
Oh, nice.
Because Beck works at the Opera House, so we got
a man of culture.
Yeah.
It's been,
Sorry, I'm not surprised by that.
I am.
Like since the start, she only just started there recently. But I think I've seen like 3 musicals, went to the ballet. Which
I was going to say that was he went to the ballet last time. Yeah.
So it's been really good.
Yeah, cool.
It was a cool musical. Like they had fireworks like halfway through it, which was pretty crazy. And then the only downside was it was a really late night, so didn't get to bed till like 11:30 midnight, which is probably not the best for running. And
How long did the musical go for?
I think it was like 7:30 till like, I don't know, maybe 10:30.
Okay.
But then by the time you drive home and everything else,
it's never an early night.
But still, it's like you can't say no to those opportunities, and I think maybe your running doesn't improve because of it, but you live a happier life probably. So then the next day got out at lunch for a half an hour run, which was handy because I was a bit tired in the morning. And then went up to the track and did 800s.
Oh yeah.
With a lap jog in between, and I struggled a bit. I think I was just a bit tired probably, but the first few were good. I think I was hitting about 2:26, and then
that's moving. It's like nearly 3 minute Ks.
No, it was solid. I had another guy to run with on this session, and he just like destroyed it. Like I think he was doing 2:26s the whole way, and then picked up the last 2.
So CS marks.
I think he finished the last one in like 2:21. And I was just like, oh my god, this guy's on another level.
Who was it?
My French friend, Aurel. He's
Is he a turbo guy?
Yeah, he's a turbo guy, but he works as a carpenter. So
so he hasn't had an easy morning either. He's
working hard all day, and he runs like, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 Ks a week.
Yeah,
it's just a machine.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a bit humbling. The last couple I think were like 2:32, which is still okay. And then Friday,
I don't think you need to go faster because your A race. Listening to the last podcast is Gold Coast now.
That's it. Yeah. But it's just tricky, I guess. Like, I think it was a good session all in all. Shouldn't be so hard on myself. Probably.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Then Friday, I was meant to get out for a bit longer, but just got out at lunch again for half an hour, and then we had some beers that night. So again, probably not the best for running. Saturday. Did another lap of the bay, which I did the Greenway part 2, so it was 19 Ks, which was good. And then this morning got out and did a 30K long run. There's like a little 7K stretch down Hunters Hill, so I just went out and back along that 4 times. Okay. Which is, I've done like a lot.
Is that the main road of Hunters Hill? So that's not the particularly hilly one, is it? It's not like you're descending in...
Oh, like down towards like Woolwich, so... It's a little bit hilly.
Okay.
But it's not too bad, but like enough hills to kind of still
rolling.
Yeah. And that was pretty solid. I think that's the first sort of solid long run I've done for the marathon. So all in all, it was a pretty good week. Happy with it. Bit of balancing life and running, but that's it.
I think that's important. I mean, none of us are making a living from it, so I think I'm totally fine with. You know when you say you went to a show, probably not good for the running. I think balance and maintaining relationships that are important to you, ultimately in the long run, that
Exactly.
will be good for your running.
Yeah. That's true.
If you like using it a bit in jest, but if you marry, like if you make your wife a running widow, it's not fun. Just wonder what she'll say. And Friday night beers with the guys, and like back up for an easy run Saturday. That's all part of balance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A big week coming back as well, like coming in strong.
Yeah, so I think it's like the week before was similar. So it's going along all right.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Can I ask now about Gold Coast preps? Like, are you, is the rough formula to do an easy long run and a Mara specific session on another day, or are you going to combine them? And is 116 about the kind of mileage you're hitting?
Ideally,
you're aiming for?
Yeah, we'll try and build the mileage a bit more, maybe like towards 140, 150.
Yeah.
And then, I think the long runs will probably be a little bit quicker. There's like a tempo session Tuesday and then on the track on a Thursday.
So Tuesday tempo, Thursday track.
Yeah.
And then a Mara type session
sort of
on
long
Saturday
run.
or Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
Yeah.
Everyone's got slightly different ways of doing it, and you've done a lot more marathons than I have, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. I think everyone's like generally kind of doing 2 or 3 sessions a week. That's about it. Yeah. What about you, Smitty? How's the week going?
The start of the week was good. So we did Delta session on Tuesday. It was a pretty meaty session. It was did you see it?
I think I saw it.
Yeah.
I think people set. Was this the one that lots of people set 10k PBs?
Yeah. So it was 4 by 6 minutes plus 3 by 2 minutes, all off 90 seconds jog. So it ended up being, I think, like a 40-minute session. It was really tough. In normal fashion, I went out too fast and
don't know what you're talking about.
Trying to hang on.
You're my pacemaker usually for the first lap.
Matt Gorey says I always go out way too fast on the first corner, and then like once I settle in, I drop off. But we definitely missed having you there. But
I missed you guys in presence, but I didn't miss doing that session.
So I tried to hang on to Matt. The 6 minutes are really solid. I got towards the last rep, and I was working like really, really hard, which was concerning. Like sort of just probably like a hard 10k session, and then working into the 2 minutes. It was tough. Even Chris jumped in because he could hear I was breathing really I couldn't get a control of my breathing. It was because I was kept trying to push, and it just felt really tough. The 2 minutes were quite quick. Definitely glad to get that one done. But I think that's the biggest session I've done in a while. On a Tuesday, normally they're about 30 minutes. But that's seemed to be a good hard 10k style session to do.
Did you keep the paces roughly the same?
Yeah. So
I think that's what you're aiming for. I'm assuming it sounds like your perceived effort.
Yeah, it just got real tough. Yeah,
got harder.
Yes.
But you maintained pace. Which really simulates what you're doing in a well-paced race, I think.
Yeah. So
it's probably what you want.
Yeah. I felt like it was good. It's just hard on some of those ones to if you, to keep switched on mentally. Even Matt was looking back and egging me on, come on, don't drop off. He probably said that about 6 times on. And that definitely helped. But I probably shouldn't rely on something like that. It was a really good session at the end of the day.
What was the out of interest? I presume either Jerome or Chris prescribed it.
Yeah.
When they say 6 minutes, and they said to the group,
yeah,
what kind of effort did they talk about?
don't remember.
Yeah.
But I think it was probably like half.
Yeah, I think sort of half marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working down, probably aim to get the last 6-minute rep a bit more solid.
Yeah.
And then sort of like 5K pace
For the
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is what it should be. The 2 minutes were really, really tough. Like I took them. It's probably the fastest. And 2 minutes is deceptive as well. It's like a lot more than one lap, and you sort of go out hard. Well, it just feels more, yeah. Anyway,
I think if you run it like, it sounds like the jogs are really slow, and the goal of the 2 minutes is to really go hard.
Yes.
As opposed to floating and making the 2 minutes more like a sort of 10K half marathon type threshy effort.
Yes.
So it depends how you do the session, but it sounds like the goal of that one was to really work on the speed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite a few people, were happy with. Just said the speed was tough at the end, but it was ultimately a really good session.
Yeah.
Do you like those longer sessions, or?
I naturally prefer the longer sessions, especially now. I'm a bit scared of doing anything less than 400 meter reps after the injury.
Yep.
So I think naturally when I do those kind of sessions, even if coach says standing recovery, I'm always one who tends to jog. And if he says jog recovery, I'll almost tend to float because I'm a bit risk adverse, as I said, but I also find I really enjoy the aerobic heavy type workouts, and it's probably at the expense of some leg speed, which I'm sure you've seen. Like when we do descending reps, I'll generally do okay at the, say, 4 laps and the 3 laps.
Yep.
But then I'll get absolutely killed in the 1 lappers by you guys. Yeah. So.
What was that session we did when? I think it was the taper session.
I
think it was the taper one where I didn't realize you were kicking down on the last lap. And I was like,
that was actually the week before the marathon. That was last week.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm slowing down.
Sorry, I should have told you that.
No, that was good. That was good. Yeah, we've done quite a few good sessions.
Yeah, I think in the last few months, or last 2-3 months, sort of we've been keeping each other company. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah,
good.
Enjoyed it. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'll try and better speed it up. Then I did MLR in the city with a few Delta people, which is really good. That's the first time I've done a city loop, sort of like around Opera House and Barangaroo and stuff like that. It's really nice in the morning as the sun's coming up. That was an hour 40. Pretty.
Oh, that's decent.
Yeah, but pretty. Yeah, it was good.
After a Tuesday.
Yeah. Legs were feeling okay, to be honest, which was surprising. Then I did easy 60 minutes on the Thursday. Unfortunately, sorry in advance, Dom, but hamstring was giving me a bit of grief on the Thursday. That's probably the first time I felt like, when I first did it, there was like a real sharp, like pinchy pain, like in the belly of the tendon, like, and I just got a bit paranoid. That.
Sorry, I'm obviously not up to date with
No.
But has this been an ongoing recurring injury?
I just had a bit of hamstring issues where I just hurt the tendon. Had to take about 6 weeks down.
Yeah. It was a little while ago now.
It was a while ago. Yeah. Probably like I've probably been training well for about 3 or 4 months, quite consistently. So similar thing, like I didn't do any strength work before I did that, and then introduced like a real basic strength program, which has been good. Yeah. So that's been good. But when I first did it, it just felt weird, like not like a normal soreness, just a really sharp like pinching. But yeah, I felt that on the. It's weird because I would have expected something like that to happen after a big session or something like that, and it came on a little bit later. But didn't do the session on the Friday, just cautious, a little bit, a little bit worried. Then I went to
sensible.
Sorry
to interrupt.
No.
One of the surprising things my sports doc told me in me going through the recovery, he said, you wouldn't guess it, but tendinopathies can be often the worst recovery, and they take much longer than breaking a bone. They can take much longer, and you've got to nurse them well, and you've got to you can't just rest them. You've got to gradually load them.
Yes,
which is a really tricky thing to do when you're not, you used to doing something like that.
Yes.
But yeah. So whenever I hear someone dealing with a tendinopathy, I'm just like, don't let it get it worse. Get on top of it early. Absolutely right.
It's actually talking to a few people at Delta. Like it seems to be really common. Like a lot of people have problems with the tendon. So it was good to get different perspectives as well, because they've gone through that. But mine was pretty minor. I mean, when I did it initially, I had the luxury of having time to get on top of it, because I didn't have a race.
Yeah.
So I just made the call to be really conservative. But now it's kind of a different conversation, because Gold Coast. Yeah, Gold Coast, and it's like you can't spend 3-4 weeks detraining. Unless you absolutely have to, but so just weighing up whether or not. So I'm going to take like seven days. Next Friday, I'll try and do a session. Just manage it for now. Even today, thankfully, it just felt not like that sharp. So it feels like it's regressing, which is good. But then I got to figure out like what I can train through, because,
The general advice given to me has been from both physios and the sports docs with tendinopathies, with this idea that you very gradually load a tendon as it heals and repairs and becomes stronger, is that 1 to 2 out of 10 activity is okay, and if you can tolerate that, you shouldn't just rest and do nothing.
Yes.
So that's basically what guided me through my very long and slow rehab. I mean, 6 weeks. That sucks.
Yeah, but it's nothing.
Better than 52.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's 1 to 2 in terms of pain levels.
Yeah, in terms of pain.
Yeah.
And so that feeling where you can just feel something, but it's not pain. That's the language I put in my head on it. A sensation.
Yes.
So on that sensation, I was doing isometric holds, and then as I got stronger, gradually lifting on it or doing dynamic exercises, and then doing jogging on it, and then jogging on it at 1 to 2 out of 10 pain. And I got up to about 90 Ks a week of easy running on it at 1 to 2 out of 10 pain, where until it actually disappeared.
Yeah. Gee, that must be.
So I don't know that's. That was the consistent medical advice given to me, and it worked over a very long period of time.
Yes.
But that my experience sort of corroborates that.
Yeah. Gee, that must have been glorious when it went away.
And it wasn't like one day. It was
gradual.
It was just. It's weird. It's not like one day I thought, I'm running pain free. It was just a realization over a week or two. Wow, this is
it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. And I don't know, with your hamstring tendinopathy, I would, before getting running pain, the pain I would get was rolling out of bed in the morning, or just transferring from one leg to another on a single leg squat, and that would actually hurt it much more than running. And then when that went, that was a good sign. Yeah. Even getting out awkwardly out of the car,
you could feel it. Yeah.
I could feel it for a very long time. So
and 52 weeks. Bloody long time. Like I was.
Well, like you said, you second guess yourself, because I ran through it for the first however many 6 months. I was very on and off with it, and the pain was maybe got to a 3-4 out of 10. And I would have kept running on it if I didn't get the MRI, to be honest. I probably would have broken something else. So that's what's the scary thing. Like that the level of pain doesn't always correlate to the seriousness or the severity of the injury.
Yeah. Wow.
Not to scare you.
No,
Just saying you're doing absolutely the right thing by.
I think I'm hyper conservative. And just borderline. Probably need to find that balance. But basically, the advice that was given was like, because I've got 3 months of basic strength work now, it should be much stronger, the hamstring, and the idea is like in seven days it should have calmed down. So if that's the case, then just go back to it. But then obviously the closer I get to Gold Coast, the more that I'll have to figure out just hope that it doesn't flare up and stay on top of strength work and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the, having just done a marathon, that's one of the beauties of the marathon. It's very specific because generally you're talking about a long block, and one of the arts of the marathon isn't just running a good race, it's making it to the start line, having pushed your body and to the limit for the 12 weeks beforehand and learning how to manage that. And you don't really have to do that for a 5 or a 10 or a half.
Yes.
You can sort of, just be relatively fit and get look, I've certainly run a half of 4 good weeks of training. But a marathon, it's a different beast. And I guess it's like, hopefully you pull it off in Gold Coast, but all the more satisfying it will be that you've learned to, manage these kind of hurdles.
Yeah, definitely. That is kind of I think we've talked about before, like the rewarding aspect is like making it through.
Yeah.
And it's probably it's just very difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I'll see how I go next week. But today I did 10K easy, and it was a relief because it was feeling better.
Awesome.
So that's good. And that's my week. I still ran probably 75Ks. As long as I don't spend too much time detraining, should be good. Like, training's been consistent now for a while.
Yeah.
So
And you kept up with your strength work
Yeah,
this week?
started going this week, but got told not to do strength until I go back to like sessions, just to take a bit of load off it. But then, I'll probably go back to fitness first with Chris and Matt, because they go, like, I think I need to progressively. That's the other thing I got told is, because I was only doing with a 15 kilo kettlebell for all this time, so I've probably plateaued in terms of strength, so I need to raise that.
15's decent for me.
But only 20 minutes.
Usually a 30 man or something. My heaviest kettlebell's a 16.
I've got to increase the stimulus. You probably won't see me doing 100 kilo squats or something, or deadlifts.
I don't think any of us three are breaking any bodybuilding competitions.
That is training. All right, let's get into a bit about you. So when did you actually get started in running and sort of,
a long time ago. I think I said I've got a few years on you boys. I fortuitously got started in year 7 at school.
Oh, yeah.
Because I missed soccer trials.
Right.
So I was then forced to do cross country, which wasn't the coolest sport to do at the time, and I was terrible at it. You guys went GPS, right?
Yeah.
So I was in the GPS school system.
Yeah.
And did you guys do cross country?
I did.
So there's a 14s, 16s, and opens category, and there's at my time there was about 200 in each race. And I remember my first few races, I was coming 180th, 190th. I do a bit of, jogging, then futile walking, and just chat with my friends, and didn't take it too seriously. And then I still enjoyed it enough, and it was really the friends that kept me in it.
Yep.
Made good enough friends to continue and not do soccer the next year. So anyway, what I really found was I was always a puny kid. And I hit adolescence later than I think most people in my year, and I was also young for the year. So come year 9, when I actually started growing a bit, I started going from 100 whatever out of the 200 kids to maybe top 40, and this was just on doing the compulsory training on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then doing the Saturday cross country race.
Yeah.
And then so I'm the kind of person that, and I think a lot of runners are, one of the beauties of the sport is that the clock doesn't lie, your positions don't lie.
Yeah.
And, I do love team sports, but in running, one of the things I like is that in the end, the buck stops with you.
Yes.
And so, I just loved seeing my positions go from 180 to 40. And then in year 10, I started getting top 10 of the under 16s kind of thing. So, and then I started training just a little bit on my own. So maybe the odd 6K run on my own in addition to, and then a 14K long run in addition to the compulsory training. And then by year 11, 12, I was hitting states and then nationals in year 12 on about 60. I actually looked up the diary just for this, but I was on about 60, 70K a week and doing, 2 sessions and the race.
Where did you note that down?
I kept a training diary back in year 12. So this is 20 odd years ago, 23 years ago. And yeah, I had a great coach who just loved the sport, got on really well with us. And I made some awesome friends through it, and met some athletes who then went on and made the Olympics and or Commonwealth Games. So Nick Bromley was he's
a bit cheeky,
He was the year above me, and he was running pretty well back then. Lachlan Renshaw was in a few years below me at Grammar.
They were all like really gun.
Yeah. So the GP, I was very lucky with the education my parents gave me and the school opportunities, and the GPS system was just it's great for nurturing if you have any ability to getting you into regular racing, and then funneling you from GPS team to regionals to states to nationals. So so I that was my first sort of phase of running, and got pretty good in year 12, and then I hit med school the next year, and then I didn't really run consistently for the next 12 years. I'd like to say it was because it was a lot of study, which it was, but I think it was, if I had the discipline, and I look back and I think, maybe I could have. But through med school and being a junior doctor and going through specialist training, along with everything else going in life, I never had the discipline to string more than, say, 3 months of regular running together. So from 2002 to 2015, I reckon I got into running maybe three or four times for a few months each. I joined Sean Williams' squad when he was starting up for, I think in 2005, and I enjoyed it. I got pretty fit in, say, the 3 or 4 months that I trained. So I think I did City to Surf a few times in 47 minutes. But then again, life just got too busy. So just played a lot of other sport, touch footy.
That's still pretty handy though.
Look, I'd love doing the sessions. I just didn't have that drive, and probably my social circles were, a lot of what's driven my running has been the social element, which is really important to me.
Yeah.
And so my most of my social circles were through work, because I was working crazy hours, and you really got to support each other. It was my wife. I got married, I think when I was 24, and so I didn't really want to, kind of wanted to spend time with her. Yeah. And then had kids during that time as well as doing specialist training. And so I think what got me back into it, I'm sorry if I'm going into too much detail.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So from between 2002 2015, a few false starts in running, but kept relatively fit. But 2015 is when I finished my training. I'd had 2 kids, and we went overseas for further subspecialty training to Canada. And one of the ways we decided to connect with the community, we went to Halifax and lived there on and off for 2 years, was we joined the university running group. And they were, I'll give a shout out to them now, but yeah, Coach Lee there really took me under his wing, saw me just doing a few laps of the indoor track. I think it was minus 20 degrees or something in March in Canada. Yeah, it's real. We take for granted a lot in Australia that we can run all year round. Yeah, like some of the guys do their long runs, 30 Ks around an indoor track. It's just
too cold. Yeah.
And so he took me under his wing, and that was the social element and the community of running really got me into running again. And so we lived there in 2015-16, and I started running every day and getting back into the local races there and the local fun runs, and it became really enjoyable. And I was I trained consistently, and I also did the other thing that really helped actually was I did a 6-month sort of medical mission trip to Rwanda, and we actually lived in Rwanda
wow.
for 6 months at
Oh, wow.
altitude.
Yeah, geez.
And I was doing some nice hilly long runs in the hill in the land of 1,000 hills they call Rwanda. And so I remember like just before I left for Rwanda, I'd had 3 months in Canada and got myself to like 33 minute like 10k shape.
Nice.
And I went to Rwanda and I was on my own, so I wasn't doing any sessions, like proper sessions. I was just doing lots of Ks and hills, and I got back and there was this fun run, and I did it with the guys, and I was like a minute and a half. Yeah, I was like high 31s or 30. Yeah, 30 often. Yeah, the altitude really helped.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Yeah.
bit of natural EPO and hemoglobin there. Yeah. So so that was kind of cool. But yeah, through 2015-16, I trained really well with my friends there. We had a blast of a time living overseas with the two young kids, and my wife was really happy, so that made it good. And yes, I did a 71-minute half there, and then we moved 71-minute half. I got about to 31:50 in the 10k. And so I was in quite good shape just from getting back into it then. Then we moved back to Sydney to really lay our roots and settle down in 2017. And I sort of just kept it going and joined Delta then. That's when Jerome literally started Delta. It was just a few of us, I think 5 or 6 of us.
Yeah.
And I started doing I was just doing park runs on my own, and my brother's quite a good runner. We would do the Odd City to Surf or half marathon in 2017.
I think you won park run with 17:06 this week with the pram.
Yeah, my brother. Yeah, he's still in really good shape. Yeah, with a pram.
With the pram.
Right? Yeah. So, and then again the community of Delta, and there was only, as I said, 5 or 6 of us. There was Jerome, Jack Maxwell, Anthony Martin, myself. Sorry if I'm forgetting. There's Jeet there, and I just managed to keep that momentum and consistent training going. So apart from that 2-year layoff, which I've detailed, I've been training and really enjoying running quite consistently since 2015. Yeah. So it's been nearly 10 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
One thing I was curious about before, which I'll ask, is do you remember what training you did in school? Like when
So we would you mean towards the pointy end?
When you were like doing structured
so we had a good
training.
Coach who'd actually done his name's Shane Fazel. And so we would do one track session on Tuesday, which was 200s, 300s, like short stuff.
Yeah.
And then the longer stuff on the Thursdays would be say 5 to 10 minute reps.
Okay.
And it wasn't huge volume. As I said, I was only with that plus the race plus a 14k run on a Sunday, and that was my long run. I was getting maybe to 50-60 k's a week. So yeah, it was. Okay. Yeah, it's just I think consistency.
Yeah.
Is really what helps produce results, and that's what I became in years 10, 11, 12. I just started running more than the compulsory runs.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy training because you said when you joined cross country? I remember doing like cross country and doing a race and being like, this is the grimmest thing ever. Yeah, those early days. Yeah. But obviously love running now. But do you remember if you enjoyed it?
No, I didn't enjoy it at all. And yes, in the early days, I think I'm someone who gets a lot of enjoyment. There's this pleasure enjoyment with the endorphins that you get from running. Yeah. And I didn't have that at the time. But there's also a deeper satisfaction that I've always had when you work hard for something that you don't necessarily enjoy and you see a result. And I think that feeling for me is certainly addictive, whether it be, through running, through work, through relationships. To set a goal, to realize it, and then also to set another goal and to realize, well, you could go even better. So I think that's more what got me in school rather than the sort of endorphins and things like that. Whereas now having a young family, full-time job, that kind of thing, I definitely like the endorphins.
Yeah, it's changed. Yeah, well, that makes sense.
I think it sounds like as well, like the friendships that you made running.
That above all, more so than the endorphins. For me, running's really, it's been I don't want to sound too corny here, but almost like a metaphor for relationship building. And I think, just trying to put it in, I think the running journey can mirror what you're going through in life. And so there are ups, there are downs, there are goals, there are failures, there are reflections, there are layoffs. And what's helped in my running is the relationships I've built with people, and which have sustained me, and vice versa. It's sort of symbiotic through the highs and lows.
Yes.
And I think if you can do that in your running and mirror that in life, I think it's a tremendous gift. And I've always said to my wife and my friends and myself, I will only run if I'm convinced it makes me a better person, husband, father, friend. And there are definitely times where my obsession with running has made me worse. And I've had good friends, both from inside and outside running, pull me up on it. So, the way I look at it, it's been a tremendous gift and an enjoyment. But it is also something like anything that's good, it can be made bad by unhealthy habits, by addiction.
What is it? When you say bad, is it just too much time goes into it?
Yeah, absolutely. I say in general, running's good for your mental health. But say in the spiral of injury, I'll just use myself as an example. I would notice my mood, or I'd get snappier with my wife, my kids. I would sleep less well because I was ruminating on my injury.
Yes.
I remember really poignantly, one of my best friends, he's actually from my church, and he'd always ask, "How's your running going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm injured, but I've got a bit of pain, but I'm still training through it." And he said, "You look really tired." And I said, "Yeah, I'm just not sleeping that well." And then he said to me, and I'll remember it very clearly because I remind myself, his name's Mike. So
shut up, Mike.
He said, he said, you'd always told me you'd do running if it helps with the more important things in your life. And then he said, it looks like running's taking away from the more important things in your life. Because I'd also share with him, look, I snapped at the kids and that kind of thing. And so that, just telling me what I'd reflected to him and saying, well, actually, you're sleeping worse. You're in a worse mood. You're ruminating over it. And time to take a step back.
Yep.
That's definitely an example I know. And this was, only 2 years ago, where definitely a good thing can become a bad thing.
Yes.
For me, if I take it too seriously or I prioritize it above what I know is more important. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think running, it's so easy to just get like fixated on how you're going, how you're feeling, and everything, and just make your whole life about running.
Absolutely. And look, I think there's a place for that if you're making a living from it, or if you've got a wife and kids and that's your living. If it's a full-time job, absolutely you've got to do those, be fixated on those 1%ers, and it would just be like me turning up to work and not doing a good job.
Yeah.
But thankfully for us, I don't have that pressure, hence nor should I put that pressure on myself. But absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. There's two sides to it though, because at the same time, like, I don't know, getting after a goal and achieving it
is important.
Yeah, is important and can bring you so much satisfaction as well. And you see kind of like this sort of dimension in runners all the time. Like there's like the Dave Goggins guy who's like, I don't know, just stay hard, all about it, like up and about. And then there's like the kind of, I don't know, hippie kind of runners who are just like, oh, like it's carefree and easy. But I think, the best fit's kind of in the middle sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's never black and white. And I think one of the beauties you see in running, it attracts so many different people. and personalities, and you see different personalities like you're describing express their love for running and express their training in different ways. Yeah. But I just know for me, and I rely on, say, my wife or my friends to tell me when you're taking this a bit too seriously.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes you can't see it. Sometimes if you don't. Yeah. It's definitely been times where it's for me, like it dips into becoming a detriment to your mental health. Sometimes, like it really depends. I don't know. I go through stages, and it's hard to have that awareness to be like, okay, now. Yeah, I don't know.
So what are your like when you say it becomes a detriment? I know exactly, but what are the triggers for you, and how do you realize that in yourself?
Probably like just stressing about it a lot. Probably affecting like when I'm really fatigued, for example.
Yeah,
and it like spills over into work and stuff like that. But obviously there's a general level of fatigue that's to come along with when you're getting into the pointy end of a block. But when you're like sometimes if you're like really fatigued, you're like, oh god, it's actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
But sometimes I can kind of think like this is part of it, and it's like I just accept that it's just part of it.
It's about like here's another example that just popped to my mind. I remember in the midst of the injury, this is in 2021, I had 3 out of 4 hip pain. I'd done an all-nighter in hospital, like as a COVID shift. So you're dressed up in this spacesuit, you're sweating literally, you're just soaked when you get out, and then you're then you've got to take a shower. It's just mental. Like you got to unscrub in a particular way so you don't contaminate yourself with the virus, etc. So I did an all-nighter, and I left the hospital at 7 a.m, and then I had a session due that day, and I was buggered, and I just made myself do it, and lo and behold, I got more pain. But I did a 10K like progressive tempo on next to no sleep, and it was because I was just obsessed with sticking to the program no matter what. And so absolutely, like if for me, if trying to run overcomes that, like that's a very irrational thing to do, isn't it? To do an all-nighter, sweat half a litre with an injury and then do a 10K tempo and no sleep at 7 a.m. I think that just encapsulates where I knew it had gone too far.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's a fine line, because like there's a lot of the good qualities that you have from like being disciplined and stuff like that, but then it does at some point, it's just often hard to tell because sometimes you might get satisfaction from like pushing through and being able to do that, but it's interesting because it's never like at some point you think, okay, I've figured out that this is the balance for me, but it always just keeps changing. And obviously you've got a lot of more work and life stress that I do, so
I wouldn't say that, but I think it like you said, it keeps changing and it evolves, and we're all at different phases of our we all go through different seasons of life, and I don't think you can put a rule on what's too much for your body or what's too much for your mind. 120 Ks a few years ago a week for me was fine, like before kids or whatever, but now that's just changed. I'm a decade older, and so I agree, it's a spectrum, and there's no sort of hard and fast when's too much, when does it become too much. It's always changing depending on your life circumstance.
I guess you learn maybe just when to tweak it a bit, or you could be flexible.
Well, I think that's, like I said before, that's where mates come in, because mates care about you, and they're generally more objective about your training or the stresses you're going in life, and it's really hard to look in the mirror sometimes and see those manifestations, but your family and your friends generally will see that.
It's a good point. And like for me, like when running kind of becomes bad is more so when I'm at social events and I'm starting, like I don't know, connect with people as much because I'm thinking about my running, and like I don't know, like not having a beer or whatever, because like I got to think about my running, or like don't know. If
Not going to West Side Story.
Yeah,
'cause of-
like pushing things back because I have to be a runner. That's probably where I've seen it kind of be the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really with relationships, isn't it? Like when they start to suffer.
It's a good point. I think the friends are so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
People think of it as a solo sport, but
No.
it's not. It's a community. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it.
I think a lot of Delta people, and obviously with Dom, and like, having other people to pull you up and be like, notice things about you, especially with like potentially pushing an injury. Like I get a lot of good feedback from people to be like, look, just be smart, and you know, if you have that definitely helps, because if you're just in your own head.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway.
That was a very philosophical tangent, but I think it was.
Okay, let's chat about Canberra. So how was your build up? How was the training block and everything like that?
My build up was great. I mean, it's the first marathon build up I've ever done properly.
Yep.
I've only raced one other marathon before. That was 5 years ago, and I pretty much did that off being super fit, in super fit half marathon shape.
Right.
And then I tacked on 4 weeks of marathon sessions with Mike Litwark, and then did so I did a 68 half at the end of August, did 4 weeks of Mara sessions, and then did the 228.
Yeah.
But this time I was so cautious. I just didn't want to get injured. I wanted to enjoy my running, and I set myself a goal, and I told my wife. She said, "What's your goal with this?" And I said, "The most important goal for me is that I have a good experience and I make it to the start and the finish line." And then I said, secondary to that, time, PB, whatever. And I genuinely believe I stuck to that, and I genuinely believe that helped me last Sunday. So the plan was to do the work before the work begins. So the plan was, I just turned up to Delta in the lead up to the block and did a Tuesday session, half a Thursday session, meaning 5 hills up my local street, and then a Saturday park run. And then I was clocking about 90 Ks a week come January 1st, which was 14 weeks before Canberra Marathon. So January 1st this year. And then in summary, the plan was to do Delta Tuesdays and then tack on between 5 to 20 minutes of marathon type work at the end or before the session.
I remember you always going after.
Yeah, that's right. So I'd
still
always
moving very quick after.
To do a Thursday sort of hills. And that was always a half session because I didn't believe my body would handle 3 proper sessions. And then to do a Saturday or Sunday long run workout. So I never did the super long, easy long runs and a Saturday session. I always combined them. And that was also a time factor with family and stuff like that. So, I was injury free. The mileage started at about 100, and then my highest was 140. And then, so Delta sessions worked. I really enjoyed the Delta sessions, and the weekend sessions I started mostly doing on my own, and it started at about 12 Ks of work in variations. And then worked my way all the way up to, I think I did a 24K session by the end with Matt Gore. And then I did the Orange Half Marathon as a training run during that time as well. So it was injury free. Had a very minor sort of patella tendonitis niggle that I had to nurse and manage, but the groin
was cool.
Yeah, when I say injury free, I meant the groin.
Yes.
But another one started coming. And I genuinely enjoyed it, apart from I started getting a bit mentally tired doing the Saturday sessions on my own. So, towards the end, Matt Gore, he helps you out on Tuesdays. He did a few with me, like 2 with me. And I tacked on park runs. What else did I do? I tacked on a Strider's 10K after doing a 10K tempo, just that kind of thing. And I did the Orange Half. It was sort of progressive bars and I did a 2-week taper.
Yep.
During which time 2 weeks before, I still did that session with you on Tuesday, and then I did a mini session on Friday, and the week before was half a session with Delta, and then jogging the rest. I think I did about 50 Ks on the week of the marathon.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought all things considered, I felt pretty good come Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you say the structure was like for the previous marathon? Was it
the previous marathon? I just would have done deltas on Tuesdays, and then joined Mike for. I mean, he did some crazy sessions, but he did like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kilometers with a kilometer float in between. That's one I do remember. And then I also paced the Sydney Marathon for the 2 hour 50 group. So they're the two meaty ones I remember.
Okay.
I might have done one other session. Yeah, but other than that, it was just deltas and being fit from doing a few halves that year.
Yeah, because I looked at your splits and they were pretty much like literally perfectly even.
Yeah, that was a very different experience to Canberra. I mean, to compare them is interesting because they're the two I've raced.
Yeah.
And Melbourne was perfect weather. It was crisp. It was cool. It was sunny. It was like, I think it was 9 degrees. There was a massive group going. There was a 2:30 group and a 2:28 group. And essentially I just piggybacked on the 2:28 group. And I knew I was, like, when you do a 68 half, that converts to better than 2:28. So I was pretty confident that should at least start feeling easy.
Yeah.
And you know how they say the marathon should just feel like a jog for the first, feel like a jog for the first 30K. It felt so good for the first 32K. And then I think the group blew apart. And I threw in a few 320s there, and then I really struggled come 37, and it was just a struggle to hold 330s. But I managed to do it.
Yes.
And then, I was really proud to do a 228 flat.
Yeah.
And it was a good experience. Yeah. This was very different in how I felt. Obviously, the position was different. So this was Canberra. It really pissed down rain the day before. Do you remember that? It was torrential rain. So we drove, and I had all 6 kids in the back, and they were like, I was like, kids, you can't sing and fight and do all that. I need to concentrate. So the day before, and then when we got to Canberra Friday nights, all Saturday it was raining so heavily, and some of the boys were going to go for a shakeout jog. So I met them at the cafe at 9 o'clock on Saturday for a shakeout jog, and of the 15 people that turned up, I reckon 3 of them went, and I just stayed in the cafe and had a coffee with everyone, and no one wanted to go. So
that's fair.
it was just not great weather, and the good thing was I didn't worry about it too much, but I just knew this may not be perfect. It cleared up, but on Sunday morning I think it was 14 degrees and it was 100% humidity.
Right.
Like it was, and then it rained during the race, so it was very humid, and then it was, the water in the air was condensing, so to speak. Did you ask for a race recap?
No. Let's go into it.
You sure?
Yeah.
I think you asked about the build-up, but anyway, it's
it ties in nicely. So
So on the day, I just knew this is not perfect conditions, and I thought I was in better shape to run a good marathon than I did in Melbourne, just based on my training and the fact that I'd had a 14-week block, and I felt fit.
Yes.
So I went out. There was a group of 5 of us that just went out, and we hit the first few at about 3:35. So just just a touch above 2:30 pace. And then this one guy at about 2Ks, Ben McCronin, he started pulling away and getting at about 2-3 seconds. So he didn't throw a surge, but just gradually pulling away. None of us went with him. And I turned to Miles, who's my mate from Wollongong, and I remember saying to him, I'm tempted. And he said, it's early days. And I knew Ben was going at the pace that I wanted to go, which was basically to get a PB sub 220. He was going about that 227 pace, which is 330 on the dot.
Yeah.
Because we were sort of 333s, 334s. He was basically going 330. And I just remembered in my head thinking, what were your goals? It's to have a good experience, to not blow up, and just to enjoy it. Your first one after 5 years. And I made that decision then to stay with the pack. And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
So that pack stayed together till 26Ks. So it was 4 of us. James Penny, who I think you've done a few runs with, he was there. I didn't know him at the time. And we just kept it rolling between 330 and 338s. So about 335 average. And to be honest, I never felt great. I felt heavy. I felt like I was sweating heaps. It felt nothing like Melbourne. So I was not worried, but I wasn't breathing heavy. It just felt crap.
Yeah.
And the 4 of us stayed together till 26K.
Do you know what the half time was?
The half time was 76.
Okay.
Flat. Yeah, so 232 pace.
Yeah.
And at 26K, James, who'd been sitting at the back the whole time, and once or twice up the hills, he'd actually fallen off like 5 or 6 meters. So I thought if anyone's going to drop off, it's him.
Yeah.
we were going 335s or something. He put in a 320. And it blew, like Miles and Zach, who are the other two, they didn't go. But I felt I can go with him. I felt comfortable enough to go. So I went with James. And
that's a big move.
It is.
Yeah,
That's 15 seconds off. Yeah. And I looked back and we had a good 20, 30 meters on them.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he put in the 320 and I thought, and this was into the wind as well, like up Parks Way at 26K. So in my head, I was like, I'm not making a move until 35 because this is my first, but I just want a good experience.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to draft off someone who wants to make a move. And
Yeah.
But then I think, so he did that 1K at 326 and then he slowed right down, like as though he wanted me to take the lead. And once I tried to stay behind him and then he kept slowing, I thought, I'm being real prick if I really try, to do that. So I just took it up at about, I think I took the lead and took the next K. Again, it wasn't quick. It was pulling it back to where we were, 332s or something.
Yeah.
And he dropped right off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, really?
So yeah, like within a K after that, I had about, I don't know, 5-10 seconds on him.
Yeah.
And then I started worrying because I was like, the plan was not to be solo at 28K.
Yeah.
So I then had a decision to make. Either I sort of pull back and almost jog because that's what it felt like I'd have to do to get back with the pack, or I just keep going at this comfortably uncomfortable pace. And that's that's the best feeling. I was never comfortable in that race like I was in Melbourne, but I was holding 335s, breathing fine. The legs were just starting to get heavy.
Yes.
And I remember hitting a hill at 31K and I did a 342 or something and it felt awful. And I thought, I'm stuffed. Yeah. I really thought I was stuffed then. And then the 2 things that changed that were it flattened out a bit. And then I had Gaddy come and hand me drinks at 33 and I posted a lovely picture of him and that guy, and I said it to his face and to the group, he just encapsulates, I think, what he encapsulates why running is a beautiful sport, and also Delta is an amazing group to be part of. So he teed me up a few weeks beforehand and said, I'll carry your drinks. I'll see you when do you want me to see you? Does this work? So yeah, he took my drinks and he gave me 4 lots of bottles throughout. And then at 33K, I said to him, I'm starting to struggle, and I said, this feels too early to start to struggle. And then he's just reassuring. He said, no, just stay steady, stay strong. And then he didn't just hand me the drink. He sort of held the drink for about, 100 meters. And just that presence there really helped me relax. It was reassuring because I was starting to get tense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was starting to doubt myself. And then he also said, he's like 100 meters back. I said, 100 meters? Wow. Like I thought I was dying. So yeah, that really helped. And then I saw my family, so Teresa and all my 6 kids came and they were on the course. They saw me at 23 when I was high-fiving them and feeling awesome. And then they saw me at 36. And and they saw me at 35, I think, and then gave me a big boost after Gaddy.
Yes.
And then they saw me again at 38, and it was just before.
Big Hill.
Oh yeah. So, Ben I was counting at the turnbacks. He had like a 2-minute lead on me. So I was just happy to be racing for second. Yeah. Right. This is at the 30k mark or whatever. And then I started seeing him at 30, just after Gaddy.
Yeah.
Handed me the drinks. I started seeing him, and the road was really. It's a you've run Canberra, haven't you, Dom?
Yeah.
So you can see very far ahead. So it's still ages away, but I can actually see the guy. And then the spectators were saying, you're pulling in on him. And I still felt awful. So I just said, okay, just stay steady. I never thought I would catch him.
Yeah.
And then at the turnaround, at about 35k, he had maybe 45 seconds because I counted. I saw him come past me, and then I took the seconds that it took me to turn around and doubled it.
Yeah.
I thought, he's only got 45 seconds. He has to have 2 minutes.
That's like just before you go back onto the bridge.
Yeah, just before you go back on the bridge. So that's about 37k.
Yeah.
So then I thought 6Ks to go, 45 seconds. Oh, that's 7 minutes a K. I just wonder. And then I saw my family a K later at 38K. And he was literally within 50 meters of me.
Wow.
And then I remember saying to them, hi kids, can I catch him?
Yeah, we got the video posted. Yeah,
the kids were like, come on. That really gave me the biggest boost.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I got that 45-second lead within 2 kilometers. I was 20 seconds a K, and I overtook him at just shortly about 100 meters, or maybe a few hundred meters after that. I overtook him at 38 Ks.
Yeah, right.
And I thought, I'm winning a marathon. This is don't die now. And then there was this one hill at 39 to 40 Ks up at
the same one you run up at the start.
The same one. Yeah. And my right hammy seized up on me. Ooh. And the same thing happened at a half that I did 6 months ago. And I had to stop, and I had to stretch it for about 10 to 15 seconds.
In the marathon?
I stopped at 39K. Because I was seizing up.
Yeah,
I could. You know that when you start cramping, and you know the cramp's going to spread to the rest of your body. Yeah. So I just didn't want that to happen, and I thought, this is I've tried. It's been positive so far. And so I gave it a really good stretch over 15 seconds, and then I turned around, and Ben was starting to come back towards me. I could see him again. Yeah. And so I just told myself to relax, and luckily it was downhill after that, and I managed to just hold that 340. Just sort of swinging your leg, when you're to avoid a cramp, you alter your gait, and I just swinging my leg off to the side, just really terrible gait, but holding 340s, and I saw I was increasing the lead on him again, and then just saw my family again at 500 meters to go, and again it's amazing. What a mental lift that gave me, and my gait became all good again, thankfully, for the photos. And so I actually stopped, gave them a hug, and it was really emotional. And then I'm not usually someone who gets sort of up and about by doing well at sport, but I just remember giving myself a fist pump and a bit of a yell. Didn't really think about it. That's just what came out. And I think it was on reflection that this has been, I actually never thought I would race hard again after the injury. And I was, I'm about to hit 40. So it was just a journey getting the body to the start line in one piece. So it was quite emotional, and having my family there, and especially my wife, who's been the biggest advocate and the most patient person through this journey. And I don't mean just the running journey, through life. Just getting them to be there. All the emotions came out. So and I crossed the line in 2:30, which was I think a 13-second positive split. So I'll take that. With a bit of a limp at the end. And just ever since then, it's honestly been I've taken a week off with the family. It's just been good to spend time with them, but it's been a whole lot of imposter syndrome. It's probably one of the slower times to have won the Canberra Marathon. It's very, very special. I don't really feel like an elite runner. I'm just sort of, I'm just, husband, dad, friend who runs 5 a.m. every morning as a hobby, and got some mates to help me around. Yeah, doing that. So I feel incredibly blessed and lucky. But by the whole scenario, and a bit surprised and shocked. Yeah, like an imposter.
No, it was so good to see that you won the race, and all the stuff that was coming through on the Delta chat was.
Oh, it was just. I looked back on it, and it had obviously exploded by the time I got to my phone. But just again, humbled, grateful. They're the words that come to mind. Shocked, unexpected. Yeah. And I'd really only been at Delta back at the sessions for. Let's say maybe since just before January, so for 5 months.
Yes.
And I hadn't known most of the people who joined since I was injured, and they all just came on board like, one big happy family, like they were. And I got lots of messages from people who I'd only managed to really talk to once or twice. So it was really touching, and getting to celebrate with them all with my family was very special too. So I just feel indebted, especially, specific shout outs to people like Chris Gatt. Didn't race, travelled all the way down to Canberra in the torrential rain to hand out drinks to myself and a few other people, and to support the whole squad.
Selfless.
He is.
Always supporting.
And I think that's he just encapsulates, I think,
100%.
what a good runner and a good running community is, and it's motivated me to pick up my game, be a bit more be more generous with my time and my support as well. So no shout out to Gaddy and Amy Lamb came down paced as well. So Matt Gore paced.
2:45.
So and there were a few other people. I think Georgia came. She didn't race. Came down to support, and
that's good. Sorry, Dom, were you gonna ask
I think like that whole community thing and friends again, it all it seems a pretty cool way to kind of celebrate it by running the marathon.
I mean, obviously, getting the win really uplifts the mood, but I would have been, it was more special. Let's put it this way, it wouldn't have been that special if I was there on my own.
Absolutely.
It really wouldn't have. I've won races on my own before, and it's just like, thanks, and then rush home, get back home for the family kind of thing.
Of course.
It is really the people and the community and the relationships that for me are more important than the result.
How did you go with nutrition? What did you select? And
I'm not one for the 1%ers. So I messaged Gaddy, I think Matt Gore and Lockie Oakes, literally on Wednesday, saying, how do you carb load? It's funny because I had to study all about the physiology for it, but I just switch my brain off when it comes to applying it to myself in my running. And basically I hodgepodge together what those three told me, and I mean, the amount given to me was 10 grams per kilo per day, right? And then I actually looked, I said, that's 600 grams of carbs. And then I looked up how much, in a rice thing, and rice is only 40% carbs. Pasta is actually only 40%. So you're eating over a kilo of pasta or rice equivalent to do this. So I decided to go more like 30, 40, which is a heck of a lot more carbs than I usually have. So look, I just, I had an extra bagel in the morning. I made sure, my work's quite intense, so often I'll do a session at Delta, and I honestly, just because of work, I won't eat properly till that evening. So just that week, I was just more conscious. I took a sports drink in. I went to the chemist and got this carb mix, which is much more concentrated. Essentially, I think in 100 grams of carb powder, 95% of it's 95 grams is carbs. And it didn't actually taste too bad. So I was just sipping on that throughout the day. I didn't go overboard. I just had a normal sort of pasta meal with maybe a bagel afterwards in the nights leading up. So that and the sports drink. And I'd say I'd probably hit maybe, rather than 600 grams in per day, I probably hit between 300 and 400. And look, it's better than nothing. I don't know if I could have done better with it. I'll never know. But I didn't do any of that for Melbourne. I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think some people, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you guys think? Yeah.
It's only like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Like,
Yeah.
does it make that much of a difference? I don't know.
My personal experience, and my brother's done like 10 marathons quick. Like he's done a 2:29. And he said he's barely sipped water in all of them. He doesn't take gels. He doesn't.
Really?
So, yeah. And then others will just say they bonk at 90 minutes consistently. So I think everyone's a bit different.
Yeah.
I've bonked very occasionally in a long run or a long ride after about 2.5, 3 hours. So I'm probably on the cusp if I did nothing.
Yeah.
So I sort of thought I don't want my guts to hate me. So I did a half job, and then I took, so nutrition wise, I'd practice a few gels in the 2 weeks leading up. So I did gels at every 9K. So 9, 18, 27, 36. And then Gaddy handed me electrolyte drink. Again, this was on a whim. Like I sort of mixed it up and bought it on the Friday before. So I did 250 mils of electrolytes. And at the stations he could meet me at. So I think that was 13, 19, 33 and 38.
Okay.
And my stomach handled it fine.
Yep.
I didn't take in retrospect, what I didn't do was I didn't actually take on enough just water. I think I was quite dehydrated by the end. I didn't think I would, because I was always told Canberra's cool, which it was. I just did not expect the stickiness. And I was rolling 335s comfortably after a K or two, but sweat was coming off. And I should have just had water in pop top water bottles. I just could not at that pace take it out of cups. I didn't take on any water, and
Do you reckon that
could have helped. That could have led to the cramping.
What gels were there more?
No, they were GU gels. That some of them had caffeine, and some of them didn't. So every second one had caffeine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you normally have coffee?
I usually I'm a coffee person. So caffeine I know helps me wake up.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent it's performance enhancing
Which is nice.
Yeah. But I know I can handle caffeine.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So any other questions about the race, Dom, do you think? Or
no, I think that's about it. How did you find the hills?
Tough. Really tough. So I practiced those 2 sessions I did with Matt Gore around Centennial.
Oh, yeah.
He said, this Centennial, Grant, just the main loop, and there's a very slight hill.
Yeah.
And he said, this will simulate Canberra, because I think he's done the half. And no way. No. I got an almighty shock when I hit the first few hills at Canberra.
Yeah.
I found the hills tricky. I think in retrospect, I probably should have trained more at somewhere like Lane Cove National Park, where that's much more rolly. So I got real beat up with the quad. I think the reason I cramped was because I got beat up with the quads downhill. Right. I don't think I was quite conditioned. Like my biggest marathon session was 24 Ks on the flat.
Okay.
And I just didn't feel my legs were conditioned to that, even though cardiovascularly I felt totally fine. So yeah, like if I did do a hilly mara again, I'd definitely do more hills. But again, it's a balance. Like that, who knows? If I went harder and trained harder, I probably would have got injured. So
yeah.
Yeah, actually, that ties into one of the listener questions, which comes from Josh Keys, who actually ran a super marathon.
Yeah.
I think it was 2.
He actually did I did. We did our last session together around Centennial Park.
Yeah,
so, that was good. Good to run with Josh.
I think that was a 2-minute PB for him.
I mean, his aim was 2:45, and I remember Matt Gore afterwards saying he would take 4 to 5 minutes off that for Gold Coast on that day, and I just sort of felt I honestly feel I was in at least Melbourne shape.
Yeah.
But my time was nearly 4.5 minutes slower. And I think that's reflective of the conditions. Yeah. So Josh doing a 2:46 at Canberra on that day when he's aiming at 2:45 is a phenomenal effort.
It's such a good run. Yeah. And the question is actually about hills. So I think he was asking about like in our build up to Gold Coast. So like what's your view on running hills in the marathon block, so I'll ask you as well, Dom. But yeah, so you would focus more on it for your next block, you would say, or
I will because I think hills are a very good bang for your buck way of improving your strength with minimal impact, assuming you're just sort of jogging down the hills.
Yep.
So that's why I do the hills on Thursday. It's because I feel like I get a sort of session's worth without any impact on the legs.
yeah.
That's why I do it. So I'm very, having been burnt with this bad injury, I'm very conscious about the impact on legs and managing training load.
Yes.
And so, I don't know, you the same? Hills are a good bang for your buck and minimal injury risk as long as you're not slapping yourself down the hills.
Yeah, 100%. I think, the last sort of block I've really done a lot of hills, running on trails and stuff like that. So it'll probably be a lot less hills for Gold Coast, but definitely still keep some. And I think that, you can really get a lot of fitness gains in including hills in your workouts because you just get that extra bit of stress.
Your heart rate goes up really quickly.
Yeah.
No matter how quick you run the hill or slow you run the hills. Do you find that? You can be plodding up a hill and your heart rate's 160. 170.
I was going to say, don't ask me about hills. Don't do many.
So I think I'll definitely still include some hills, but
the weird thing for me was I did regular 1 to 1.5 minute hill reps up my local street on those Thursdays, but I didn't do any hilly tempos because I just didn't want to go fast down the hill. So I'm wondering if maybe I should gently try and introduce that if I were to do another marathon.
Yeah. That's probably something I got to do more of.
I mean, if you've got the bay, it's hard, right? It's such a nice area to run around. You've got it's a balance between what helps you clock 140 k's a week, and if you've got to drive an hour to get to a hill, that's not going to help, is it?
I think it's Gold Coast as well, so it's going to be super flat. So maybe that helps, but I don't know. I feel like running hills might help too in the back half of the marathon when you're really fatigued and you have to start using all these other muscles.
But
I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Other question we got was from Gaddy. It was more around family life stuff. So like, what's a day in the life like raising 6 kids, and how do you go about managing that side?
A lot of people ask me this.
Everyone's very curious about this.
Very directly, them and my wife are the biggest blessing in my life, and they have, in terms of running, I wouldn't be running well now without her support and the kids too. So. To answer your question, so in general, look, it's a positive thing.
Of course.
What I've found is that the more kids I've had, the less time I've had to myself. So counterintuitively, I've actually become a lot more disciplined, and I've used my time more efficiently. There've been lots of mistakes that I've gone through to get to this point, and it's by no means perfect. Look. I'll put the negatives first, and then I'll tell you how I've journeyed and worked that out. Our youngest 3 kids are triplets, and they were born in 2018. And from 2018 to 2020, I wasn't getting much, to 2021 maybe, I wasn't getting much sleep, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And so... and that's where I think I touched on before. I was unable to regulate my running to adjust for that. And I ended up, I think, getting injured and definitely at points not being a helpful dad or husband, being a bit burnt out at work, stuff like that. So what I have learnt to do to keep the running going though, apart from pulling back when I need to, is to get in better sleep habits, so go to sleep earlier. And I wake up, I can't sleep in really past 5:30 because I'm just so used to waking up at 4:45, 5 a.m. I get a lot of my miles in through commuting. So I would get, Sunday long runs I do on my own or with friends, and then the Delta Tuesdays. But almost exclusively apart from that, I would run to work and then do another loop when I got to work and then run home. I work at a few hospitals, but the furthest one's 14 Ks away. The closest one's 2 Ks away. And I'm in a job, my role at work is such that I dress in theatre scrubs. So they provide the clothes. Okay. They've got showers, they've got towels. So I don't even need to pack work clothes. So it's actually, I've sort of worked that out as a perk of the job. That's not why I chose the job. But I can just put my running gear on and then just honestly pack a change of running clothes. So they're not heavy in a backpack. So it's just sort of undies, singlet, shorts, and then do work and come back home. That's how I get all my easy Ks done. I've just taught myself to, in my life circumstances, to work around what I consider my responsibilities and my more important priorities, such as husband, dad, work, and make the running work around that by being very disciplined and purposeful. Yeah, right. So I still managed to clock 100 consistently for this build. Yeah, as I said, 120 Ks a week, and it was, and I didn't lose too much time because it was commuting. Otherwise, I'd be sitting in a car or on the train, just look at my phone or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
it's a good hack.
Better for the environment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. What about your segment, Dom?
Oh yeah, I think we've kind of touched on
maybe just
a little bit. What about shoes? Yeah.
Shoes, I've modified my shoe habits. Again, since I had a family, I sort of just used to see a pair of shoes and get them. Now I'm a bit more, how should I put, judicious with my spending until the last. We'll talk about the last anecdote in a sec, but essentially, what I'll do is I'll find a good pair of shoes that I really like, and then when they're on sale, I'll get 3 or 4 pairs of them, and that'll last me a year and a half, 2 years. So my jogging shoe rotation at the moment, it's a Pegasus, and I'm still working through my 39s, maybe even 38s. So I got 3 or 4 pairs of them 2 years ago, and then I got injured, so I didn't use that much. I've got a New Balance Vazi Pace, which is a light neutral trainer that came out about 4 years ago. And again, I'm working through my last pair of them. And I've got the Peg Turbo Next Nature, which is actually, do you guys have it?
Is that one of the
I really liked it's the newer, the Nike Peg Turbo was a great shoe about 5 years ago.
Yeah, I loved that.
It had the Zoom X foam and
so good.
But then they took it off for a few years, and it's come back this year as it's called the Next Nature.
Yeah, right. I think I've seen them.
To me they suck.
I've heard
the foam isn't the same as the Zoom X. It's this it's important to recycle shoes, and it's sort of recycled foam, and it feels like it. It's very hard on the foot for me, so I'm just working through my last set of them. Tempo shoes, I've used the Zoom Fly. So I've got a few pairs of them, and I've recently bought the Under Armour plated shoe. Which I just got on a whim at a Boxing Day sale. I really like Under Armour gear; they fit me really well. And then I just saw a plated shoe for $70.
Really?
The sale, so I thought,
might as well
try it. Yeah. So I got it, and it's great. It's light. It's more like I reckon I'd wear it over the Vaporfly for a 5 or 10K road race.
Seriously?
It's lighter.
Wow.
It's it doesn't have that the same sponginess. But I wear them at the sessions sometimes.
Yeah.
There's that one, and then to race. I set all my PBs in the Vaporfly Next Percent one, that green one.
Yep.
Great shoe.
And I raced in that from when it came out, 2000 19 through till I got injured. And then when I was injured and I kept thinking I'm about to come back, I got the 2, and then it just sat in the cupboard for ages. And so I planned on wearing the 2 for Canberra.
Yep.
And then so I wore it at the orange half and one 10K, the Strider's 10K, and it just, and I actually wore it after jogging around in the next percent, which had 400 Ks in it, and it just didn't feel as spongy, and it just felt, my impression was that it just feels a bit harder and not that same kind of super shoe feeling.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was going to race in it for Canberra because it only had like 20K or 30 Ks in it, and it was comfortable enough. But then on the Friday, the Thursday night before Canberra, so this is like 2-3 days before, I just dropped my kids off at an activity, and I was just wandering my way home through Chatswood, and as you do, I went by the Nike store. I'm just wondering, and Nike concept stores never have sales. But they were having a 30% off all their, like most of their shoes sale. Yeah, and the Vaporfly 3 was there.
Yeah.
So I messaged. So these plated shoes, they're never on, especially the Nike ones. So I messaged the chat group while I was there, saying, "Hey boys, anyone got a view on the Vaporfly 3 versus 2s? ... I'm tempted." And then like 2 or 3 really helpful people like Gaddy saying, "Oh, they're generally much better for the marathon. They've got that sponginess. They feel more like they're giving me the hard sell."
Yeah.
And then this third person replies, and then it pops up Charissa Ho. So my wife.
Yeah.
And then she says, "Boys, stop enabling him. He's got too many shoes already." And I'd remembered one of the best things this year, she's got back into exercise. So she started turning up to some of the Delta sessions. I invited her onto the WhatsApp group. And before that, like all my running groups just used to be kind of my banter and sort of my sort of secret life. So anyway, I sort of felt like I totally forgot that I'd invited her on the group. So I felt like I'd been caught on a dating, app or something. So anyway, despite her comments, I ended up getting them that night. Yeah, and then to appease her, I said, "Oh, if I got one, I should really get you one then." And then so she's like, she said, "I'm just starting, but okay, if you find something." So I actually found her a Vaporfly 2 on Marketplace.
Oh, nice.
And we got it the next day. So there you go.
Yeah.
So all's well ends well. And so yeah, I hadn't tried it before. And so I brought it on the treadie at that apartment we're staying in Canberra the night before. And I just did 5Ks on it, and no blisters, no nothing. It felt poppy. So good. I decided to wear that over the 2, and validated. Yeah.
How did it feel? How they feel?
I told my wife the difference in prize money between first and second.
Yeah, true.
That offsets the cut. Like, should have got 2 more. Yeah.
How'd they feel in the race?
They felt good. I just, as I said, I never felt comfortable in the race because of the humidity. But legs wise, look, I like to think they stopped me cramping at 35 Ks instead of 39 kind of thing. Yeah. Definitely feel feel more forgiving than the Vaporfly 2s. Yeah.
Felt like the Vaporfly 1 and 2 had a bit more of a aggressive drop in it. So it felt like when you were running like fast, you were just naturally tilted over a bit more and kind of ready to go.
So have you got all 3?
Yeah, I tried all 3.
Yeah.
I wore the Vaporfly 3 for Berlin and Bondi to Manly, but I felt like, I don't know, it was just a little bit like my foot's a bit flatter, so I didn't quite have the same kind of
it's got a narrow midsole, I think, as well. I sort of felt the geometry of the shoe was a bit different from the 1 and 2, but the sponginess was more similar to the 1, which is what I really liked. I loved really I liked the idea, and I liked the idea when I'm hopping in a marathon that getting this nice sort of cushiony feeling, and it gives you confidence that your legs won't be be less banged up.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're my new racing shoe. I'll probably flog the pair of they're almost brand new, but I don't think I'll race in them. The 2s if I've got the 3s.
Yeah. I love the 3s. Yeah, they definitely felt similar to the Alpha Fly 1 between the Alpha Fly 1 and the Vaporfly. They're just, yeah.
I actually asked the Nike store, like, I said, you don't have the Alpha Flies too? And they're like, there's one Alpha Fly in size 5.5 women's at George Street.
You're like, oh, thank you, yeah.
I'll get the Vaporflies. Yeah. But I've since heard they've done a drop.
They did a drop, and
I've been restrained this time.
I got a pair. Yeah, I bought a pair straight.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Shout out to Isaac who tipped me off because I checked on the because I got an email and went online in the evening and size 10 was already sold.
Like, you're size 10?
Yeah. And then I was like,
mate, I might have to nick your shoes on Dollar Tuesday, or at least try them on and return them. Yeah, I'm just curious to see how they feel.
Oh yeah. I'm super keen to give them a try. And then because they were sold out, I was like, damn, how could they possibly sell out already? Because I got the notification. But then in the morning after I got back from a run, I got an Instagram message from Isaac being like, it's been released, and I was like, yeah, awesome. I've already checked, like, they're sold out. But then I went back on after that message and it was available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So really keen to try
when are they coming?
A week, I think.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that'll make the hammy feel better.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just have to do all my runs.
I remember months ago when they were first dropped.
Yeah.
I met with you and Tobias we started easy, and he was wearing the Alpha Fly, like they dropped on the Friday. We met on the Saturday, and I think he was wearing the Alpha Fly 3s to jog for 5Ks. I'm like, dude, save them for something worthwhile.
That's a big Tobias move.
Yeah. I think if I jogged in my Alpha Flies, I'd have to starve my kids. It's an expensive hobby, that one.
Yeah. I think it's since not running everything in carbon shoes.
Oh, that's a start.
Yeah. But yeah, big fan of the carbon blade shoe. Yeah. Anyway, any other lifestyle?
Or I guess like any other gear that you really swear by.
You got your watch, obviously.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I've used a Garmin. I'm not too fancy with the gear, the heart rate, the data kind of thing. I've always run to take my mind off, other things. So I've never been a data person. I've always run by feel or by company. So I'm just trying to think other specific gear. No, just
the watch.
Just my watch, shoes, clothes. That's about it. Good backpack. Yeah, I don't know. I find a lot of the brands for me that even the size small feels very baggy. But I like Under Armour because they've got different types of fits, and I always like their fitted or their compressed fit.
Yeah,
and that's what you get for being skinny there. Yeah. That's right. No, they're not sponsoring me. But if you want to.
Yeah, if you want to. Likewise. If you want to sponsor the pod. Okay, cool. Keep it simple.
Keep it pretty simple on the technology and analysis kind of front. And again, it's more through friends that I actually would post on Strava, but for ages I wouldn't even check Strava or upload. Or even label my runs, but I've started doing that recently in the marathon build.
It's a bit of fun.
Yeah.
What's your nutrition like generally? Like anything strict or?
It's improved lately. What I found when I sort of hit my mid-30s, I just found the metabolism goes right down. I didn't eat great, I reckon, in my 20s when I wasn't training seriously, and I never either put on weight or got particularly I never looked unhealthy. And I always maintained a stable weight, but when I got injured, even when I was cycling like 200-300 Ks a week, this is just 2-3 years ago, within a few months I put on like 3 kilos, which is a lot for me, like a light person like me. That doing the strength work, seeing the doctors, that also got me thinking about, look, how can I look after my body a bit better? So I've definitely cut out a lot more, fats and and sort of low GI carbs, and I'm eating a lot more fruit and veg. And again, it's also trying to be a good example to the kids and cooking healthier things.
Yes.
So I think as a family we are eating better. My wife's really good with that. She's quite conscious about that. So it's improved. It's not perfect. We stopped by the famous pie shop on the way here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But look, I think it's something as I get older and all of us get older, it's one of those 1%ers that I think does catch up with you,
right.
No matter how many Ks you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know. Do you guys kind of... Yeah, you're late 20s, is that right? Or?
Yeah, late
yeah.
20s,
So
20s,
I was kind of eating whatever I wanted then, and not giving it a second thought. So.
My diet's been shocking recently.
Yeah,
a lot of Maccas at lunch and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I got to get a handle on that.
I just wondered, to what extent do you think that makes a performance difference at this stage of your life and career?
The problem is that like you don't feel great energy wise after, but like I feel like it's one of those things that doesn't directly, like I can't notice it in sessions, and my energy levels are still okay. And so
I was the same when I was your age.
Yeah.
And the other really unhealthy thing I would do is I would do a session, get really busy at work, and I mentioned this before. I wouldn't drink afterwards. I just finish my session 20 minutes before I'm sort of meant to be in the operating theatre. And then I wouldn't. All of a sudden, I look at my watch. It's 1 o'clock. I haven't had water. I haven't had anything to eat, and I would just survive on that. But then I'd get home, and you'd sort of binge on whatever you saw, and it's just that's not good for you. So I've been trying to be a bit more conscious about packing, some healthy snacks to work, and so I think nutrition for me is not just about cutting the garbage. It's by proactively fueling your body during your normal day.
Yeah. Do you drink at all, alcohol?
No, I don't. Not because I will once or twice a year at a Christmas party.
Okay.
There's sort of no hard sort of moral stance. It's just that in this phase of life with 6 young kids, and I just don't enjoy it when I have that feeling when I have more than 1 or 2 drinks. So alcohol's not been an issue for me. And if I do have more than 1 or 2, I really feel it the next day. I'm dehydrated.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I'm tipsy on one kind of thing.
Yeah. That's something I'm gonna get a hold of.
I think like doing like shift work, kind of that's what.
Do you do shift work?
There was like a year where I was doing it like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Yeah. That messes with you, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that kind of forced my hand to look into nutrition and actually get on top of it, because I guess it's similar to you, like when you're dehydrated and overnight you just start getting these really bad cravings for stuff.
Yeah.
So, that forced me to kind of look into it and figure out, okay, what can I do to optimize my eating a bit more? Since then, it's kind of gone backwards a bit, but I think having that knowledge is still good.
I've not looked into it, but if I can ask you then, for a busy working professional like most of the recreational or semi-elite runners are, what do you suggest if we've got work, we do a session and we're bang on at work from 8 till 5, like how do you feel yourself well, and what do you suggest?
Yeah, I think it was more like just the fruit and veg is makes a big difference. And if you can just focus on getting like 5 veg and 2 fruit a day, like that's, you're going to be pretty full, and I feel like that just changes your energy levels a lot, and you're off to a good start anyways. Like whatever you put on top of that doesn't matter too much.
Cool.
Lots
of veg. I need to get better with the veg, to be honest.
I think my saving grace is I still go home for dinner a lot, and then I'll take like mum cooks
some pickles
really
and
good.
Maccas, cheeseburger.
No. Every time I tell mum, I do like, stop eating shit. Excuse my language. It
was good when we had Mick Chapman, the nutritionist, on.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I think the stats like 90% of people don't meet that guideline, which is crazy.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but I mean, I'm one of those 90%.
Yeah, me too. Most of the time. Yeah.
But I agree. My parents bless them, and also my in-laws, they're always dropping off huge sort of containers of food. So yeah, I'm
That's so
still the
nice.
same. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
If you get married, still the same. And thank God for that. Yeah.
I don't think, it won't change.
I actually think sometimes my in-laws and my parents, they mustn't think I feed my kids. That's what the amount of food they drop off. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Probably can look at wrapping it. Do you have any more questions, Dom?
No, I think that's about
No.
it. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for having me on, boys.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. Yeah,
Yeah.
really appreciate you coming on. And I will see you Tuesday in the.
Yeah, we'll see. As long as your hammy holds up in my post-Mara legs.
I might
yeah,
jog
it'll be
this
good.
Tuesday, and then I'll see you.
Bring the Alpha 5.
There you are, just
I'm actually going to ask you to see if I can take him for a stride or something.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
And then I'll work on my wife outside a public chat forum. Yeah.
All right.